Hi, this is Tracy. Thanks for being here. Please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Someone, at some point, said it to you, or you said it to yourself. You picked up a fragrance at a department store, at your mother's vanity, at a friend's bathroom counter, and the reaction was immediate. That smells like an old lady. Conversation over, bottle down. The fragrance has been assigned to a demographic, and the demographic's not yours. And that's the end of the evaluation. Here's the question nobody asks next. What did that old lady actually smell like? Shalimar? Chanel No. 5? Joy? Opium? Mitsouko? Fracas? These are, by any objective compositional standard, the most technically accomplished, most structurally complex, most expensive to produce fragrances in the history of the industry. Real oakmoss, real civet, real jasmine absolute at concentrations that would bankrupt a modern designer brief. Development arcs that take 20 minutes to reveal themselves, sillage that announces a woman has entered the building and does not apologize for the announcement. Old lady perfume is not a description of a demographic. It's a description of a quality standard that no longer exists in mainstream commercial production. And the industry is absolutely delighted that you don't know that. This is Versace Crystal Noir. It was released in 2004. It's a dark oriental. It's marketed as a sensual evening fragrance. It has amber, gardenia, sandalwood. It is musk. On a department store blotter, it reads as sophisticated and slightly dangerous, and precisely the kind of thing a woman in her 30s might reach for when she wants to feel like she has a secret. It's a perfectly competent fragrance. It's not bad. I want to be clear about that. Crystal Noir is not a bad perfume. It is a safe perfume. This is Guerlain Shalimar. Jacques Guerlain, 1925, 101 years ago. It's also a dark oriental. It's also marketed as a sensual evening fragrance. But the Shalimar has a smoky incense note that Crystal Noir does not attempt. It has an animalic base that the modern fragrance industry has spent 40 years systematically removing from commercial production. It has a developmental arc, the way it changes on your skin over 3, 4, 5 hours. That Crystal Noir does not have, because Crystal Noir was not designed for the version of you that exists 5 hours into an evening. Crystal Noir was designed for the version of you that exists for 30 seconds at a department store counter. This is the difference between an old lady's perfume and yours. Yours was made for the blotter. Hers was made for the life. Now, here's the part I haven't told you yet. The perfumer who made Crystal Noir, who composed this perfectly competent, perfectly safe, perfectly department store legible dark oriental for Versace in 2004, is a man named Antoine Lee. Remember that name. This is Night Flower. It was released in 2016 by a house called Iris Parfums. Iris was founded by Barbara Herman, a vintage fragrance collector, a blogger, and the author of a book called Scent and Subversion, in which she spent 280 pages arguing, with evidence and with fury, that perfume used to be braver, dirtier, more animalic, more honestly erotic and that the mainstream fragrance industry had spent decades quietly eliminating these qualities so that more units could move through more department stores at a faster rate. Having spent a decade making that argument in writing, she did the only intellectually honest thing available to a critic who means what they say. She made her own perfumes. And the perfumer she chose to make them with was Antoine Lie. The same nose, the same hands. 12 years later, working not for Versace, but for a woman who believed that perfume should be dangerous again. Antoine Lie put back everything the Versace brief told him to leave out. The leather, the birch tar, the animalic depth, the tuberose that arrives not as a pretty guest, but as something feral and unapologetic. The developmental arc that requires your patience and does not care whether you understand it in 30 seconds on a blotter. Night Flower is not an homage to an old lady perfume. Night Flower is the proof that old lady perfume was never the problem. The brief was the problem. The market research was the problem. The 30-second evaluation window was the problem. Give the same perfumer a different brief. Make something dangerous, and he makes something your grandmother would have recognized. Not because it smells like Shalimar, it doesn't, but because it was made with the same respect for the person wearing it. The assumption that you would stay, that you had time, that you were not in a hurry to put the bottle down and move to the next counter. Your grandmother's perfume was not unsophisticated. Your grandmother's perfume was so sophisticated that the industry replaced it with something you could understand faster. That's not an upgrade. It's a concession. So the next time someone says, "That smells like an old lady," the correct response is, "Thank you."